Jai Gurudev students. Today I will start chapter 17, that is breathing and exchange of gases. So already respiration in plant is completed. Now this one is respiration in animals, especially on human beings. And why we need to respire? Carbon dioxide which is produced in our body due to metabolic activities of our body, it is toxic to the body tissue, and if that one is accumulated inside our body, that will damage the other organs of our body. So there is an urgent need of respiration for continuous supply of energy and expelling of carbon dioxide. Now regarding the definition of respiration, it is a biochemical as well as it is a physico-chemical process which involve exchange of environmental oxygen and body's carbon dioxide through a liquid medium, which is obviously you know about that, it is blood, and to utilize the oxygen for oxidation of glucose in the mitochondria, and it produces energy as a ATP molecule and for the biological uses. Okay. Now, what are the main character of respiratory surface? It must be thin, permeable, moist, highly vascular, and it should have a large surface area for gaseous exchange. The organ of respiration. Respiratory system in mammal, it is formed of a two part. First part is respiratory tract and the second part is respiratory organ. Respiratory tract, it is comprises of the following part: nostril, that nasal cavity, nasal chamber inside the nose, then vascular part. Actually, the nasal chamber, it has vascular part, respiratory part and olfactory part. In case of the vasculatory part, it is lined by a hairy skin which acts as a filter. It prevents the dust to enter into the lungs. And respiratory part is the middle part, and it is, that is, vascular respiratory epithelium which acts as an air conditioner. And olfactory part, it is a posterior part of the, that is, nasal chamber, and the olfactory epithelium which help in smelling. Now another part, that is the internal nares, and these are the opening of nasal chamber in the nasopharynx and are closed by a valve. Swelling. Next part is larynx, that is lungs, or which is known as a laryngopharynx, and it is the lower part of the pharynx and has a slit like apparatus which is glottis. All of you know glottis, which can be closed by a leaf like bilobe cartilage, epiglottis, during the swelling of the food. Okay. The next part is larynx. It is also called the voice box. Then trachea. It is a long, thin, narrow or cartilaginous tubular structure, and which run downward through the neck in front of the esophagus. And last part is the primary bronchi. These are one pair of small thin wall tubular structure formed by the division of trachea at the level of fifth thoracic vertebrae. Now next, so this is the first part, that the respiratory tract. Okay, now the second part, that is respiratory organ. So respiratory organ in man are lungs, so it is called the pulmonary respiration. Now lungs are a pair of a soft, elastic and cone-shaped spongy organ present in an airtight thoracic cavity, one on either side of our heart. Now what is pleura? Pleura, it is a thin, transparent, two-layer, the outer structure round the sac of the lungs. Its inner and outer layer are respectively called visceral pleura and parietal pleura. Between this layer, there is a narrow pleural cavity filled up with a watery like fluid, and which perform the two function and allow free frictionless movement of the lungs and protect the lungs from mechanical shock. Now the external structure. Each lungs is a conical shape having upper narrow apex and lower border base. Its inner mediastinal surface has a triangular shape area, hilum or hilus, through which blood and lymph vessels, is primary bronchus, and the nerve enter the lungs. Okay. So see the structure of the two lungs. Now this part is right and left. Right part with a 3-chamber, or you can say 3 lobes are there, superior, middle and inferior. But in case of the left one, superior lobe and the inferior lobe. The total respiratory tract of man, this part is known as larynx, then cartilaginous part known as trachea, and these are the two lungs, 3 lobes and 2 lobes. One notch is present which is known as cardiac notch, and a membrane is known as diaphragm. This is pleura. In between the two pleura, liquid is present. First pleura is known as pleural cavity. This gap is known as pleural cavity, and then membrane, visceral pleura. Okay, so this is the structure. Then this one is the primary bronchus. So inside the lungs, secondary bronchus and tertiary bronchus is present. So this one is little bit elaborate structure. So this bronchial part. So trachea, primary bronchus. This one is secondary bronchus, and when again it divides, it forms a tertiary bronchus. These are the alveolar sac. This small one is alveolar duct, and these are alveoli or air sac.